Welcome back to the Michelangelo Signorile Show and Substack Live. So, Joe Sudbay joins me, host of State of the States, and somebody who comes on the program all the time. And we're doing this cool thing right now. We're doing this on both Substack and on the show live. So, those of you on Substack, welcome. I see you all populating in. And of course, welcome to those of you on the show. Joe, of course, guest hosts State of the States here on SiriusXM Progress. He's guest hosting on Dino Bidala's show all week. He joins me on Substack Live a lot too to have discussions. Joe, welcome back. Well, I remember doing this. This is like one of those, okay, we've all been doing this forever. I remember when we had Periscope on Twitter. Do you remember that? And we did a couple of interviews, I know, on the show where we also did them on Periscope as well at the same time. So it's really the same thing. So, but people can comment on Substack Live and that kind of thing too. So, you're in Washington. You are seeing what is happening as this mobilization, this militarization by Donald Trump is taking over the city. More states have now vowed, Republicans, that they are sending their military, their National Guard into Washington. Tell us what it feels like.
Um, you know, I mentioned last night when I was on the show, yesterday to call and went out for a walk. And, this but and I mentioned it last night, but I recently had hip replacement surgery. So when I'm out walking, I still care.
Now, wait, Joe, people are saying they can't hear you on the Substack Live. So I don't know if that means you have something muted or something. I know people can hear you on the show, right? Or maybe you're muted on the show on the Zoom.
Okay, how's this?
Oh,
Can
no.
people hear me now?
Okay, you're fine on ours. So maybe it's something on Substack. I don't know why.
Can you hear me now? I wonder. I know it's
We'll see if
people
comment. But anyway.
All right. Well, I've got my volume all the way down, so hopefully,
people can hear you now. They can hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. See, I told you it was going to be complicated. Okay, so the thing that I'm dealing with is, I just had hip replacement surgery, right? So that I just tell you that because that kind of shows you I'm out walking Oliver. I have to be so careful. I saw a DC police officer drive by in a vehicle, and I saw them being followed by a van, an SUV, dark windows, and I thought, this is fishy. So I watched them. They did a U-turn. They went down 19th Street, and there were two masked men. Like when you see the masked people, it is so disturbing. It's so disturbing. There were two of them, and then I saw DC police, and then a group came, and they weren't getting a person. They were getting a motorbike.
Wow.
And that's one of the things they've been doing, Mike, is they've been going after the delivery drivers in the city, most of whom are immigrants.
Was it a motorbike that somebody wasn't on?
No one was on it. Like, it was on the side of the road. And like, you would have think there were probably 10 to 12 law enforcement officers surrounding this thing. Like, it was the biggest find they'd ever found. And it was interesting because I was talking to my neighbor, people were walking by and everyone wanted to discuss it. I will say Pam Bondi said that people are saying thank you to the officers. I didn't. I had a few words for them, and everyone I saw was bitching at the masked guys. They just couldn't believe it. And
we don't know who these masked people are. Are they DEA? Are they ICE? Are they, what are they? FBI?
Don't know. They don't say. They just had a big black SUV, Georgia plates, and it's one of these things. And I'll just add one other thing. My husband's parents were born in Mexico, so we actually had a conversation the other night about him going to work and discussing whether he should bring his passport as he's walking around DC. And we had that conversation because we needed to. And afterwards, I was like, Jesus Christ, we're actually having this conversation in the United States of America in the year 2025.
Wow. What is the I mean, you're seeing those things. What is the kind of feel in the air? Are people generally apprehensive? You're not near downtown, and that's where a lot of the action is. They're not in the places where there are, higher crime rates. They're clearly wanting to create this edge.
Yeah, I'm in kind of between DuPont Circle and Adams Morgan, and Adams Morgan has seen a lot of ICE activity. 14th Street, Adams Morgan's 18th Street, U Street goes over to 14th Street. There's been a lot of activity. They're doing it in neighborhoods, and they're doing, they're not, like you said, they're not going into what are, what some people might view as the high crime neighborhoods. A lot of it is for show. And this is before all these National Guard troops show up, where they're coming in from like 5 or 6 different states. And look, DC's not that big. I don't know what these assholes are all going to be doing.
What is I mean, what is the need with regard to that many states sending National Guard? This is all politics, and every one of these governors wants to be the center of attention. That Mike DeWine, who tries to present himself as quote unquote more moderate and not in lockstep with Trump, sending National Guard from Ohio when Ohio cities have higher crime rates than Washington, D.C.
It's not about crime. Like, let's just take that off the table. This is not about crime. Trump may say that, and that many in the media dutifully report it. It has nothing to do with crime. This is about him showing that he can take over an American city. He can do it more easily with D.C. because of, we're not a state, but he did it in Los Angeles. He will do it in other cities. It is a show of force. Your guest yesterday, the general, was talking about it. It's designed to intimidate and designed to show he can do it. And it is very disturbing. And I can't, we were chatting this morning, you mentioned, I wonder what these world leaders are thinking as they come into D.C. and see, in an armed camp. And bad things are going to happen. The National Guard are going to be carrying weapons with them. Marissa Kabas at the Ham Basket was writing about that this afternoon. And, there are so many people of color in this city. It's always known as a black city. There are a lot of Latinos in this city. A lot of immigrants from around the world come to DC. And there's also a lot of people who are working at embassies and working in, some of the international organizations. They're all at risk too. Look, we've already seen ICE detaining people for the flimsiest of reasons. There are going to be international incidents. There's going to be some horrific things happening. And I think that's what Trump wants.
And it seems to me that also he's using the National Guard and this militarization for ICE to actually be going and arresting more migrants too, detaining more people. This isn't about just, dealing with the crime, quote unquote, in Washington. It's about getting more migrants, people who haven't committed any crimes, because we've seen some of these reports.
Well, that's what this is. And that's why I mentioned the motorbikes, because we've seen video of the ICE thugs and this, whoever, all the masked thugs, and they look like masked thugs tackling people on motorbikes. The delivery people in this city who ride these motorbikes are a lot of them are immigrants. A lot of them are Venezuelans, from conversations I've had with people. So and it's almost like, how they're doing the quote unquote easy targets at courthouses and places like New York. That's kind of how I think they look at the delivery guys here in DC. And, we all live in a world where we know many undocumented immigrants, and I know many in this city, and I've had conversations with several. And I think a lot of us are making decisions. There's an article about on one of the local media about the guy who ordered the food for the delivery guy who got caught by ICE and was on video, and he said, "I don't think I can do delivery anymore because I don't want to put anyone in harm's way." And I think a lot of us are thinking of people in our lives who we work with or may interact with, and we don't want to put in harm's way. And that goes to something you were talking about earlier too, Mike, the fact that this city is already starting to suffer from the impacts of what Trump is doing. The restaurant business that has just really been recovering these past few years from COVID are really showing a decrease in people showing up. I saw an article in some of the LGBTQ media, the gay bars and the queer bars have their attendance is down. It's really
People don't
having
want to go out.
People don't wanna
They
go out.
are looking at what's happening and they're like, I don't want to be part of this. So
Right.
we saw reservations at restaurants down. The data is so easy now to collect because of Resi and Open Tables and other, Google, other reservation databases. So you're seeing a 25% decrease. And Trump is lying, saying the restaurants are packed because people feel safe and they're all going out. I don't know how all that gels with his friends who, own the restaurants and are big business. All of this hurts business in a big way. And if you're, taking delivery people, you're hurting business too. It gets back to that issue of Trump raiding the farms and the meat packing factories and then getting, pushback and saying, no, I don't want to do that. We need to have a special thing on that. It's clear that he doesn't care, or people behind him like Stephen Miller are running everything.
Look, this has been Stephen Miller's fever dream. Last year, there was a lot of reporting, Ron Brownstein, Radley Balco, others reporting on Stephen Miller's plans, and he always talked about using red state National Guard to come into blue states and do mass deportations. This is very much part of that plan. And Trump, yesterday, I saw him say, "Oh, Democrats are coming up, calling me saying, 'Sir, thank you. I went out for dinner.'" He's lying. And if he opens his mouth, he's lying. We all know that. But first of all, I wish someone in the media would just look at him and say, "Give us names, because you say that shit all the time. Give us a name, because it's not happening." Anytime he says, "Sir," he's lying. So in addition to, I think workers aren't showing up at restaurants. I'd imagine people don't want to be traveling, especially people who don't have documents. And you could have a driver's license. Maryland allows driver's license. I don't think Virginia might. DC. So you can be driving legally, but be stopped. And they are doing checkpoints too. That I've seen a lot of our legal friends wonder if they're constitutional. They did it on 14th Street. The one thing I will say is I am so proud of the people of DC who have, heckled these assholes, told them to get the fuck out of our town, asked them if they're proud for being Nazis, call them Gestapo. And I tell you, it's almost spontaneous when you see them. Like when I walked by the guy, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" On 19th Street, right next to a school. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And they just kind of pretend they ignore you. A lot of them try to pretend you ignore you. Although we have seen some political commentary coming from some of these agents, which makes it clear that they view themselves as loyal to Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States. And that's really disturbing.
Yeah, and a lot of the media, and this may be true of some of these people, they try to portray it as people in ICE or certainly in the National Guard or others are uncomfortable doing this. They don't want to be doing it. They weren't seeing this as part of their plan, of their work. But at the same time, a lot of these people are thugs. I've seen the videos in Washington where people, as you were describing, were yelling at them, were saying, "Get out of our city," were telling them, "This is wrong. What are you doing? Where's your badge?" These masked guys. And they were screaming right back, "Fuck you," and "Get out of here." And then one of the guys said, "You're ruining our cities." And one of the guys yelled back and said, "No, the liberals already did that." Now, how is it that a federal law enforcement person is supposed to be saying that? And then you can't even report them because you don't even know who they are.
Right. Well, this is a federal law enforcement force that views themselves as unfettered. They can do whatever they want because their king is in power and he has let them loose on this city and the citizens of this city, particularly the citizens of color of this city, the residents of color of this city. And everyone feels it. Everyone feels it. And look, I'm a white guy. I feel like it's incumbent upon me to make my voice heard and to say it. And if when I was hobbling the other day, I was like, oh shit, I'm going to get myself in trouble here because I've got Oliver. I'm not supposed to be walking too much. I'm hobbling around, but I was like, I didn't take video because they were confiscating a bike. But if there was a human being involved, I would have made more of an effort, and I intend to. Oliver and I have had this discussion. My dog is great, but he gets a little excited, and he's like Artie. They can be a little excited, but I just feel it's incumbent upon all of us in this city to, realize we have a duty right now to resist this. Trump's always talking about invasions. This District of Columbia has been invaded by his thugs.
And, all of it part of his trying to have one thing blow away something else, the Putin meeting and everything now that is the fallout of that, the Washington story, all of it having gotten Epstein off the front pages, but not for long, because on Friday, all of that material goes to the Oversight Committee. There are going to be hearings. Media is still covering it. He still doesn't have control of it. J.D. Vance actually blew it up even further in an interview last week. Because I think a lot of this is part of that, even if it's not a distraction per se, he uses it to distract as well.
Right. This what he's doing in DC is very much part of his plan. It's not a distraction. It's real. It's along the lines of what we've seen in Texas, and it's along the lines of him trying to say he's going to ban mail-in voting. It's all about undermining our democracy. This is very much part of that. Now, does he mind if it's a distraction and takes attention from Epstein? Not at all. But those Epstein files are going to come back. And I think we're very lucky that the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee is Robert Garcia, who you've had on your show many times. He's been on this channel many times. He's a badass, and he is really already calling out what's happening. They were supposed to have those files today, according to the subpoena. The Department of Justice is, delaying, and Garcia is on it though, and the Democrats on that committee are going to be unrelenting.
Yeah, absolutely. And, everything we're seeing, we have to pay attention to. We can't just say, oh, it's a distraction. I think we even saw, that House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, early on saying Washington was just a distraction. And then you see more National Guard brought in. But he does try to use these stories to do something else. And he certainly doing that with regard to the Epstein story, and that one is just not going away. He has nothing going for him. There's no issue. If you're distracting to this issue is not popular either. None of it's popular. And that's what they're afraid of. And we have to just keep reminding ourselves why they're going to such extremes and the gerrymandering and all of it is because they're very afraid of what's coming in the midterms.
Absolutely. And what's coming in Virginia, in New Jersey this year, and also, Mike, inflation is very real, and we're seeing more and more evidence of that. And that's the kind of thing Trump and his minions can say, it's not happening. We've got prices down. But you know what? When you go to the grocery store, you don't need a TV ad to tell you that prices are up. When you go to the grocery store, you see it. And you've heard it on the show. We've heard a lot of people calling in. You see it all over social media. It's really horrible.
Now, you're hosting right after this show, guest hosting for Dino Badala on the Dino Badala show. So I hope you have a great show. I know it'll be spectacular, and you're going to be talking to a lot of people.
It'll be great. And I love doing it. And I love doing this with you. And you're going to join me later in the week. We'll do the flip side when you can come over.
Absolutely. And it's been fun doing this on Substack, too. And thanks to all of you listening and watching on Substack. And, of course, everybody listening on our show. We'll be back, everybody, in a couple of minutes.
The Signorile Show.